everyone, welcome back to Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. Today's video is all about my March TBR, and there are a lot of readathons in March. Is it possible for me to be sensible? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name's Alice and I have way too many books, and I definitely started a lot of books in February, but despite the fact that I'm not actually actively DNFing any of them, I have not finished very many. So filming this on the last day of February and already knowing that my reading for the month of February didn't go brilliantly, I do want to say first of all that I didn't get to a great deal of the books that my friends and family selected for me in my February TBR. So I'm going to be keeping going with those, but probably steadily over the next few months, because prize season is upon us for the women's prize, and I definitely don't think that I'm going to be able to get through all of them in March. So I still have the majority of those left, and I will be picking up some in March, but I also wanted to talk today about some of my other possibilities for the month, some books I'm definitely going to be reading and some books I possibly might read, along with some of the readathons that are either new to me or I've done before that I would like to at least try to read something towards in the month of March. The first book that I really would like to read in March is not actually a buddy read or for any readathon, and that is The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. And the reason being that I want to read this because I read The Obelisk Gate in February with Gemma from Gemma Books, and I really want to get on to this third book in the trilogy. I'm actually surprised I haven't already just consumed this, but I haven't. So I'm going to definitely look to read this in March, and I'm very excited for it because this trilogy is really good. Very much enjoying it. So rather than mention all of the books that I've still got on the go, I'm going to probably touch on some of those as I move through the readathons. But one book I haven't really been showing but is an ongoing project with Jack from Spread Book Joy, and we're reading Buffy Season 8, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and this takes place after the events of the TV series. I've got Season 8 in these two really large omnibus volumes, but you can see that while we've been steadily working our way through these, I am quite a long way through now, but Jack and I are sort of reading this together and checking in with each other after every few comics, so that's been a really fun, enjoyable read that will be continuing into March. Let's move on to some of the readathons that I am sort of incidentally reading books for, and I thought I would give the readathons a mention because they sound really exciting, and if I didn't have so much on, I would almost certainly read more for these. So the first two that I wanted to mention, I've got one book that is on the go already that applies to both of these readathons, and that is the Irish Readathon and March of the Mammoths. So I think you'll all see where I'm going with this, but let's talk about Irish Readathon first. This is hosted by the wonderful Leanne Rose, Lisa in Bookland, and Aoife from Words of Clover. I have never participated in Irish Readathon before, but I would really like to because I love reading Irish books. It's possible I may end up reading something else for this if we get an Irish author nominated for the Women's Prize, but I definitely do have a book on the go already, and I don't think I can squeeze much more in alongside it. So I'll talk about that in a minute. March of the Mammoths that I just mentioned is hosted by Jason from Old Blues Chapter and Verse, and for March of the Mammoths, the aim is to read a book over 800 pages, is I think what's considered as a mammoth. So I actually do have two books on the go at the moment that are over 800 pages, and they are long-term projects. But the one that also applies to the Irish Readathon is, of course, Ulysses. This is a very famous work by an Irish author, of course, James Joyce. It's well over the 800 page mark. I won't be reading all of it in March, but I am so far about 8 although I should be nearly 9 episodes into the 18 episodes of Ulysses. I'm reading this with Gemma from Gemma Books, and to be honest, if we weren't reading it together, I would seriously have considered giving up by now. One thing that I haven't really mentioned yet on this buddy read that I have been kind of enjoying in Ulysses, in amongst all of the things that I'm finding quite difficult, is I do like the parts of Ireland that we've been seeing, the streets of Dublin and so on, interested in that aspect of it. It's just a shame that a lot of it is stream of consciousness. So we'll press on with this in March and count it towards March of the Mammoths and Irish Readathon. My other mammoth that I've got on the go at the moment is Dombey and Son by Charles Dickens. That is also over 800 pages. I haven't managed to get to any in February, so I will hope to dip into that again in March. Next up, another 2 readathons that I think go really well together and that I think will be covered by my Women's Prize for Fiction and Women's Prize for Non-Fiction reading. These 2 readathons I've never participated in before. One has been going for 3 years and the other one is brand new. So the established one first is Herstoryathon, and this is hosted by Charlotte from Queenie Reads and Brittany from Literarily Smitten. This is a Women's History Month themed readathon where all you have to do is read a book that is about a real woman in history, and it can be non-fiction or fiction. I do have a book on the go for this at the moment that I think will fit in very, very nicely, and it's one from the Women's Prize for Non-Fiction long list, and that is Wifedom by Anna Funder. So this is about Eileen, who is the first wife of George Orwell. It's non-fiction. There is a little sprinkling of fiction in this book, I would say. I've really enjoyed the 50 pages of this that I have read, but I will be finishing this one hopefully early in March because it's got to go back to the library on the 5th. That is going to be a priority read and it will fit in nicely with Herstoryathon. Also fitting in nicely with the Women's Prize is a new readathon that is a tribute to International Women's Day, and that is Fierce Reads. Fierce Reads is hosted by Julie at The Hungry Bookworm, Sandy at Ms Reads a Lot, Kristen at Enter the Book, and Shelley Swearingen. This one just encourages us to read books by fierce women or books about fierce women. So I think that will definitely be covered by Women's Prize reading if it is not already covered by Wifedom. So I've sort of grouped those 2 readathons together. All of the hosts of all of these readathons, their channels will be linked in the description box down below. The next readathon that I think I would really like to participate in is Middle Grade March, and I've participated in Middle Grade March every year I think that I've been on BookTube so far. Middle Grade March has a new channel, Middle Grade March, and it's hosted by Books and Jams, Life Between Words and On the Middle Shelf. And I have 2 books from the library that I've had out for ages that I'm planning to read for this. And they are 2 more books by Susan Cooper. Susan Cooper is a favourite author of mine who wrote the absolutely brilliant The Dark is Rising sequence. And I reread those last year and I met Susan Cooper at an event, and Susan Cooper was absolutely so interesting, and I realised that she'd actually written quite a few other children's books that I have never read. So I have 2 from the library. I have The Boggart and Dawn of Fear. The Boggart is definitely middle grade, and this is about a family who have inherited a remote Scottish castle, but within the castle they've also inherited a boggart. And I think this is about the troubles and adventures that the children of the family end up having with this unruly resident of the castle. So that one sounds quite fun. The other one sounds a bit more serious, and Dawn of Fear is set during World War II, set I think in the Blitz in London, and it's a wartime story of friendship and adventure. This one is about Derek and his friends for whom nighttime air raids are just a fact of life at this point. When heavy bombing forces their school to close for several days, they start to make a secret camp. And it does say on the back as well that the war changes Derek's world forever. So I'm wondering if this is going to be a tearjerker in the mould of Goodnight Mr. Tom, which I read for Middle Grade March last year. I feel safe in the hands of Susan Cooper. I think she will tell a good story, and she also did mention that she used her own experiences as a child in the Blitz. From my own shelves, the only middle grade that I really have left, I think, is The Girl of Ink and Stars by Kira Millward Hargrave, so I might get to this if I have time. The other possibility for middle grade March is our FOMO Book Club pick, and we picked this for this time of year to tie in with middle grade March, and it is Bridge to Terabithia by Catherine Paterson. I've heard that this is a really heartbreaking book. I've never read it before, but I've read about it in Books About Books, and yeah, I think this one's going to be a real tearjerker too, and I will probably actually end up reading that in April. I don't have a copy yet. FOMO Book Club is the book club that I run with Gemma from Gemma Books and Jack from Spread Book Joy, and we would love you to join us if you would like to read books that we fear we've missed out on. That's what FOMO Book Club is. We do have a Discord server, which I will link in the description down below if you want to join us for that read or any of our future reads. So moving on, the next readathon is the one that I hope to do the most reading for, and that is March Mystery Madness. Now, March Mystery Madness has a special place in my heart because when I started BookTube, I was definitely more of a mystery reader than anything else. I really enjoyed crime fiction, thrillers and mysteries. This was my ideal sort of readathon. My reading taste has definitely expanded hugely over the years of being on BookTube, but I still have a massive soft spot for a really good mystery. For me, March Mystery Madness, I always really enjoyed watching Janelle from Too Fond of Books, who sadly passed away last year. One of the prompts this year is to read a book that reminds you of Janelle. I have picked a book for that prompt that Janelle actually recommended to me and told me to read. Really hoping to get to that one. But first of all, March Mystery Madness is in its 9th year this year, so the prompts are all about to the nines. I won't be able to mention every single host in this video because there are so many, but one of the creators, Lizzie Faye Loves Books, was definitely dressed to the nines in her video, and I would urge you to go and check out that announcement video if you want to find out all of the prompts, because I will only be doing a few of them. This readathon was invented, I think, by Lizzie Faye Loves Books and by Troy Towell. As I've said, the other hosts will be listed down below. All the prompts are relating to the number 9 this year. I'll start with my tribute to Janelle because it's also going to cover one of the prompts, which is 999, which is the British phone number for the emergency services. So this prompt is to read a British mystery. I've chosen for this an author that Janelle repeatedly recommended to me from my own TBR and told me I would definitely enjoy reading, and that is Josephine Tey. I have 2 Josephine Tey books to choose from. The Singing Sands, which I believe stars her detective Inspector Grant, who has come up in a couple of other books I've read. And I also have Brat Farah, which I think could be a standalone. I always kind of think of Josephine Tey as part of the golden age of crime, but I think she actually is a little bit after, so her books I think were published in the late 40s and early 50s. I look forward to reading these 2 as well. I haven't decided which one yet, but I will read one of these and I will do that in tribute to Janelle because I know she really liked Josephine Tey. There are 2 other of the 9 related prompts that I would like to complete on March Mystery Madness, or attempt to, and the first one is Dressed to the Nines, which was to pick a book with formal wear on the cover. And this one has a top hat, so I'm including that as definitely formal wear, and that's Death and the Conjurer by Tom Mead. I got really excited about this one and added it to my TBR in January because it is set in the 1930s in London and it's a locked room mystery, and the words locked room mystery are like absolute catnip to me. I had to have this book. This one involves a Scotland Yard detective and a retired stage magician turned sleuth. So that sounds really interesting. I think this will be my number 1 priority for March Mystery Madness. And the last prompt that I hope to complete for March Mystery Madness is 9th in a series. And I do have a book on my shelf that is 9th in a crime series, and that is The Last Detective by Robert Craze. This is 9th in the Elvis Cole series of books. and I've been told you can read these out of order. I was recommended this one by The Rough Guide to Crime Fiction by Barry Forshaw, and this is supposed to be one of the best Elvis Cole novels by Robert Craze. And I'm quite keen to try Robert Craze because I've never tried his books, and I've been told that he might be a good author to get into after Lee Child. Don't know if that's true. If you are into either of those authors or both, let me know if you think that comparison is valid. So those are all the amazing readathons going on in March that I think I might be able to read a little bit for. I do also want to complete the Read Good challenge for this month. These are a set of prompts by Ben from the channel Ben Reads Good. In January it was Annuary, and I did complete that. I read a book about Anne of Cleves. The prompt for February was Feveruary, and I did do that. I read a post-apocalyptic book, which was The Obelisk Gate. This month the prompt is Oscars, and it's to read a book that inspired a film that was then nominated for an Oscar. So I have 4 options here, and I would love you to help me choose. Please do comment in the comments down below which of these 4 you think I should read. I always love a good vote, and I will read the one that comes out with the most votes by whenever I decide to get to this prompt. So my 4 options. The first one is a little bit 2 for the price of 1, because when I planned out the video, I planned this out for one particular film, but I've since realised that it also could have applied to another film that was Oscar nominated. The film that drew me to it was nominated for the Oscars in 1986, and that was Stand By Me. And I love that film. I've watched it many, many times, and it was based on the novella The Body by Stephen King, which is contained in this Different Seasons book, which I think contains 4 novellas. I filmed this video once already and the microphone went wrong, so when I picked it up the first time I was filming, I was like, oh yeah, this is a Shawshank Redemption cover for Different Seasons. And of course the Shawshank Redemption was also nominated for numerous Oscars in 1995. So I could read the stories or novellas behind 2 Oscar nominated films by reading Different Seasons by Stephen King, or by reading one or other of those stories within it. I could read the inspiration behind the 1990 nominated film The Grifters, which is The Grifters by Jim Thompson. This is on my list of 24 books to read in 2024. I've read 2 books by Jim Thompson before and very much enjoyed both. And this is more in the sort of crime genre. Not super sure what it's about, but I think it's about a con man, and I'm sure it'll be very interesting. So that's option number 2. Option number 3 is actually a very recent addition to the Giant TBR. The film of this was nominated for an Oscar in 2018, and it's If Beale Street Could Talk by James Baldwin. This was recently kindly sent to me by Gemma from Gemma Books, and I really, really want to try James Baldwin for the first time. The final option is probably the book that deserves the award for most times ever appeared on a TBR by me, and the film version was also nominated for the Oscars in 2022, and that is Women Talking by Miriam Toews. I bought this in a charity shop after I really, really loved Fight Night a couple of years ago. It was one of my top books of that year. Since I bought this, I've probably put it on, I don't know, I wouldn't like to say, but probably at least 5 different monthly TBRs, and I've never read it. If you would like me to finally get to Women Talking by Miriam Toews, I would love to read more by this author. I would absolutely love for you to vote in the comments for this. I might even put up a poll as well. So please do vote for one of these 4 books that became Oscar nominated films. That is everything that I think I might get to in the month of March that I already know about. I fully expect on the 5th of March, when the Women's Prize long list comes out, to be drawn in and to start ordering more books from the library. I will say at the outset of the Women's Prize, my rule for Women's Prize reading is I must be able to either get it from the library or read it on audiobook, because otherwise I just can't read it. I hope I get lots of these books read in March. So do let me know in the comments, what are you looking forward to reading in March? Are you joining in with any of these wonderful readathons or any other readathons that I haven't heard of? Will you be reading any books from the the Women's Prize for fiction or non-fiction. I'd love to hear all of your plans, and if you have enjoyed this video today, I'd love you to give it a like and to consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I hope very much to see you all again soon for another video all about books here on Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. Bye for now.